Hey, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Online Ministry Podcast. I think this is episode 7. It might be 6. The reason that we're unsure is because we have not made a podcast in a really long time. Let me walk you through that. So, a couple of years ago, we went all in on Church Anywhere. Like, we had been doing it for several years before that, but it was really just like myself and a bunch of volunteers. But about 2 years ago, we hired Megan and we hired Tammy and we hired Patrick, all the people that you've seen in the previous episodes. And we were like full speed ahead, pedal to the metal, going for it. And one of the things that kind of got pushed to the side was this podcast because we weren't sure like what the return on investment was going to be. We were trying to do a bunch of other things. Yesterday, as we're surfing through podcasts, we stumble upon this little podcast called Online Ministry Podcast. That was us. And we realized that we were being listened to in a bunch of different countries by a lot of different people.
Which is awesome.
Which is so cool. But we didn't know that that was happening. So we apologize for the delay. We hope that there are still some listeners out there. But I think that we can get started on a new episode right now. So let's go ahead. We can cut to the intro music and then we can get going. Is that the right? Music. That's not the. We're not going to do that. Yeah, this is a different podcast.
Oh, my bad.
Ah, jeez.
Welcome to the Online Ministry Podcast, powered by Church Anywhere. Here are your hosts, Megan and Tyler.
Megan, walk us through a little bit about what's happened with Church Anywhere. There's been a lot that's happened, y'all. Buckle up, because it's going to be a ride. A lot that's happened in the last couple of years.
Yeah, so there's been, like I said, a lot that's happened. One of the biggest things, I think, is we've had a lot of transitions.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of changes in jobs, our jobs.
Yeah.
For one, Tyler is now the lead pastor, which is awesome, of First Capital. And then I've stepped into digital lead.
Yeah.
It's really weird to say.
Engagement pastor.
So that's been a huge transition. And the biggest thing is like we've done all kinds of stuff. We've been, like you were saying, like that's why we kind of haven't done this as much, because there's been so many things we've been doing. And we're going to talk.
You guys get it. Like,
yeah.
You get it.
We're going to talk about those things in like weeks coming up. And I'm really excited about those. So you definitely want to stick around and listen to those. But there's been so many different things like digital missionaries, global digital missionaries, next step guides. And I know that's something that's not normal next steps.
Yeah. Everybody has some kind of next steps. We've revamped that process both online and in person, and it's tremendous results so far. So I'm excited to talk about that one.
And I think the biggest change is instead of having just like when we started this was a digital team and we were almost separated from our physical building. But now we're really becoming Phygital. So we're coming together, and that's been our biggest shift, is doing all these different things and being online and in the building.
Yeah, I think Phygital with intentionality has been the biggest shift for us, because like a lot of churches, like Phygital was a buzzword in 2020. There's this thing that happened. You guys remember it, a little pandemic, and like everybody had to go into online. And then like when buildings opened back, everybody's like, oh, we need to be Phygital, which was a great step. We all do need to be Phygital, but a lot of churches, at least that we've experienced, the Phygital looked like, let's just go back to normal in person, and then let's figure out how to keep online kind of up and running. And that might be something that you guys are dealing with as well. But we've taken massive strides to be intentional with a full Phygital structure and rethinking of how ministry looks. So how's this transition personally, how has that been for you?
Crazy. It has been roller coaster maybe is a good way to put it. It has up and downs. I've spoken at a conference. That's been weird. But just so many different things. And I think partnering with the people who we had in the building has been one of the coolest pieces. And that we have, anywhere from our youth pastors and children's ministry who are doing stuff online now too, which is so cool. But yeah, I think that it's been a roller coaster.
Yeah. Over the last, really since September of 2020 is when this thing first started taking a little bit of shape with what we're going to share with you today. Since then, it's been just incredible to see how God can use digital tools to shape people both online and in person. And what we like to call that is spiritual outfitting. I need like a spiritual outfit.
Yes.
The more you know. Spiritual outfitting is this term that we have been using over the last really couple of years, but we really launched it in 2022. So and internally, we've been using it for a while. Externally, we launched it January the 2nd of 2022. And we're going to walk you guys through that. We are horrible at show notes. I was going back through the comments that we didn't even know existed yesterday, and everyone was like, where can I get this PDF? And I was like, oh, shoot, we never posted the PDF. So if we post it, we're going to give it to you for free. If not, just email us and we'll send you whatever you need. But here's what spiritual outfitting really looks like. Let's start with the definition. So spiritual outfitting is an idea of figuring out ways for people to go beyond 1 hour on a Sunday morning and take what we train them to do on a Sunday morning and use it in their daily lives, using both physical tools and digital tools.
Yeah.
So for a long time, my entire life, your entire life, American church has really been focused on getting people inside of a building. I'm not knocking that. There's been life change that has happened, crazy, amazing stuff that's happened. But what we started to notice is that people aren't that interested in coming to the building any longer. And I don't mean just like buildings in general. I specifically mean church services. And we also noticed through all of the chaos that was 2020 and 2021 that, man, we have not done a great job of discipling people. I don't know if you got to see that play out, but discipleship has not been our strong suit. So what if we flipped the philosophy? What if we flipped our mindset and said our main goal is going to be focused on building 24/7 disciples that are so in tune with the Holy Spirit, so engaged in following Jesus, that's the best marketing tool we could ever have. And so far, we've seen pretty cool results from that.
It's been awesome.
So to get a good picture of what this looks like for us, we decided to use a superstore. So I know I just said we're trying to get people out of a building and we're using like brick and mortar that's dying. But here's the idea. Imagine that First Capital, Church Anywhere is a big superstore.
Right.
So for a long time, the goal was to get people in the superstore and have them buy stuff. That was the church model. However, if you look at an actual superstore, they wanted people to get in the store, but they wanted them to buy stuff so they could use it where? In their daily lives. Like nobody buys groceries and then like eats them in the store. That doesn't make any sense. So what we decided to do is look at First Capital like a superstore and figure out, well, what can we stock our shelves with, our metaphorical aisles with, that people can use in their daily lives? So when they come into our building or they come into an online experience, what can we give them that will allow them to use it in their daily lives and encourage them to do that? So we have 4 aisles. Can you walk us a little bit through these aisles?
Yeah. So start with the big thing at our church is find and follow Jesus.
Right.
So those are huge things that we hit on. So the first aisle, I feel like we should like draw it on the screen almost.
Yeah.
Like have that.
Like John Madden.
Right. Yes. So the first one we have outreach. And that is obviously kind of a traditional ministry in the church. So anything you can do to reach people.
Like in the community.
Yeah. And then we have our find. And so that's like the next aisle. And that hits a lot of different things. It's just like one step farther than outreach. Then we have our follow. And that's people who have found Jesus and are moving in that, faith walk. And then the last one is
on mission.
On mission. Wow,
we're crushing it.
We are doing so well. On mission. And that's where we want people to use those tools and go out and be Jesus to people, be the hands and feet.
So you might be thinking, all of that sounds great, but like everybody's done all kinds of different strategies over the years. What makes this different? Well, what makes this different is we've somehow convinced the staff to be on board with this. So the staff and lay leaders of our ministries all know this and all are on board with it. Here's what that looks like. Every quarter of this year, we have created a different theme. This year, we're doing the theme of our core values. And much like a superstore, like at Christmas, the main goal for them is to still sell products and get you to take things off the shelf, but everything kind of looks like Christmas. Like there's Christmas products, there's Christmas displays, but still the main goal is the main goal. That's kind of been our theme. So for the first 3 months, it's been deeply caring about people. So several months ago, back in October, we all met as a staff and as lay leaders of the church. And I said, here's our theme. We're going to deeply care about people for 3 months. what can we stock these shelves in outreach, find, follow, and on mission? What can we stock these shelves with to make sure that our people are actually caring about their communities and their families and their friends and beyond? So the family ministry team got together and they created their own inventory list. That's a key word there, inventory
Yes.
list, because we're going to constantly be creating inventory lists to put on these shelves. The digital team got together and created an inventory list. The adult ministries team got together. The teaching team got together. And by the end of this, we had this gigantic inventory list that was not possible. So then we started whittling it down to the things that we thought would be the best return on investment. Because we don't really want to do things just to do them.
Right.
And if something's not working, let's evaluate it and either change it or get rid of it. And so by the end of this process, around November, we had a complete inventory list and all of these aisles were stocked. Now, that actually happened, like in physical space. We created this gigantic board down the staff hallway with all kinds of Post-it notes on these aisles. So we had a January aisle, February, March, and an April aisles with all 4 of the sections, and they were all filled with all of these things based on the ministry. By November the 21st, everyone was to have leaders in place for events. They were to have leaders in place for Bible studies, leaders in place for small groups, etc., that filled the aisles. And then we launched it. In January the 2nd, we launched it. And we soon realized we have no idea what is successful in this.
Yeah.
We had no idea how to measure success.
Right.
We've been doing something called a health score for a while on the digital team. Let's walk them through that. You can walk them through that, and then let's talk about how we made that Phygital.
Yeah. So the health score that we do, we have all the different things that we do digitally on there. So that is anywhere from our digital missionaries, from our weekly attendance, our views, from just all these different things that we have accumulated into this Excel sheet. I love organization, so I like it. I geek out a little bit. Yeah. So, and then we have other things like baptisms and new digital missionaries or new global digital missionaries, all these different things. And those are weighted. So it's a little different because we see a lot of value in those. Like somebody getting baptized digitally is awesome. So we weight
that's
that.
a 5
Yeah.
out of 10 rather than attendance being worth
yeah.
1.
And so we have that. And over a month period, we see the difference of what our health score is. So there's a formula we use to get that all down to one number.
Yeah, I think episode 4 of this podcast kind of goes over that. So if you want to look at that, you can.
Yeah, and so we get to see from month to month how we're doing. And so it shows us what's healthy and what's doing well, or what things do we need to reshape or look at differently. So that's one way that we've been doing that. And then when you said we started doing these aisles, that we needed a way to be able to see, because it's not just about how many people are coming in the building.
Yeah, so attendance and offering has been the scorecard for churches forever. But if you're trying to measure how successfully that you are outfitting people to take things off of these metaphorical aisles and use them in their daily lives, attendance and offering doesn't really show really anything. So, so we got together, the brain trust, right? We got together. The brain trust was just several meetings randomly throughout the hallway. And tried to figure out how can we marry this health score and how can we marry traditional church metrics. Here's what we came up with. We came up with a 3-headed thing, the 3-headed metric that we are focusing on. The first one would be that we're focusing on the amount of people that we outfit. So we identified some key metrics that we believe show how successful that these outfitting opportunities have been, and they're on the outreach, on find, on follow, and on mission. So we have different metrics for each of these sets of the aisles. And the family team created their own metrics, the adult team created their metrics, and we put them together.
Yep.
So we identified these based on 5 different areas of discipleship that we believe are a pretty good indication of how people are being discipled. So we have right thinking about God, we have generosity, we have service, we have prayer, and we have in community. So those 5 things are kind of how we found these metrics. So, for example, one of the metrics is baptisms. That's a great thing to track. But if we're trying to outfit people to be on mission and to help people find Jesus, then obviously we have to track the amount of baptizers as well. Because it's no longer about getting people to come to the building and the pastor baptizes them.
Right.
It's about getting people to be outfitted to go out and be disciples and make other disciples. So we had to count baptizers. Now, with that, we had to count next step guides.
Yeah.
Briefly share what a next step guide is.
So a next step guide is someone who walks alongside someone who's just been baptized. And for that 6-week period, we have resources for them. And then that hopefully goes on longer than 6 weeks.
Yeah.
That they get in relationship with them. But it's a way that they'll be able to grow closer to each other while also growing closer to God.
If you've ever listened to any of our podcasts or seen anything that we've ever done, heard us at conferences, whatever, we have beaten it like a dead horse of relationships always trump technology.
Absolutely.
And if you're becoming a Phygital church, I would say relationships trump pretty much everything else as well. And we realize that the modern church has decided, okay, you've been baptized, so let's get you in a class. And there might be relationships that happen, but the most successful discipleship happens pretty much in a one-on-one relationship. And so we've made it our effort to pair someone with an individual person for 6 weeks. We gave them digital tools to they're like text prompts and videos to watch and things like that. Nothing crazy.
Just being very intentional.
Being intentional for 6 weeks of walking beside someone with the anticipation that that relationship could go way beyond 6 weeks. We'll have an episode just all about next step guides here in a couple weeks, and we're going to bring somebody on that's now been walking beside somebody with what feels like 100 years.
Yeah.
But the idea is to get somebody in a one-on-one relationship. We're going to outfit them with tools to do that. But we had to start tracking that. So baptisms, baptizers, and then next step guides.
Yep.
So it's holistic there. Another opportunity would be connection events, connection opportunities. So whether that's a small group or a class that they're in, or even if it's just like we want to outfit people, we'll use an example from Deeply Care. We want to outfit people to feel deeply cared about by helping them care about their bodies. So we started a fitness class at the church.
Yep.
And it's been crazy because we've had people that really struggled with COVID that needed that extra step to get in shape. And so now they've felt cared about and are in community. So we count those in connection opportunities, things like that. So there's a whole litany of things. And at the end of it, we multiplied that by 0.75. The likelihood of there not being repeats is almost zero. So we decided to create a very conservative multiplier and take 75% of the actual number, and that's the number of people that we outfitted. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we track, it would be total reach. Some people would call that attendance. We call it reach because we have so many different avenues.
Yeah.
Reach would include any person that has an opportunity to do any of the connection opportunities or outfitting opportunities. So if they're just simply watching online and they're in the middle of nowhere and have no people around them, like in Antarctica, they might not count in this. But if they're part of our Church Anywhere family online, if they're part of a microsite, if they're part of our in-person service, then they count in this reach. You got anything to add to that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense, I think.
So we have a total number of reach. Where that gets a little sticky for us is that we are on every tablet in the state of Indiana for the prisoners. And we haven't figured out a great way to outfit them to do things beyond simply watching the service and writing us letters. So they don't count in our reach. So we have a total outfitting and total reach, which at the end of that, we divide those together. So we have this divided by this, and it gives us a total outfitting percentage. So if we were 21% in December, we hope to get to 22% the next month. But what can't happen is that 22% happens because the reach goes down.
Right.
Or the outfitting goes down and the reach goes up, so we drop a percentage. So all three of those numbers are extremely important. Yes. So right now we've got about 4 months of data that we can look back on. We have December, which was pre-launch, and then January, February, and March. And what's been amazing is that we have gone up pretty much exponentially in every single category so far, even through something like spring break, which is crazy to think about. So in January, I believe that we were at 23% on the outfitting number, and then it jumped up to 33% in February, and then 35% in March. But what's been amazing is the byproduct of that, because we're creating disciples and not creating end goals with numbers, is that we're starting to see more people become generous. So more giving units. Yeah. So not necessarily the offerings that going up crazy, but more people are taking that first step towards giving. Yeah. More baptizers, way more next step guides. It's been an amazing thing. So the spiritual outfitting thing has probably been the biggest change at least over the last 2
Oh,
years,
absolutely.
and maybe in my entire ministry life. So, yeah, you've been in the ministry world longer than I have, I think. I didn't go to Christian college really, like I did, but I played football and didn't study ministry. So, please do not hold that against me. But between the two of us, we've probably got 20 years of ministry experience. And I know that's not crazy a long time, but we've never tried anything like this, and we're super excited about what God's doing with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Megan, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I'm just really excited for like more of these conversations
Me too.
and like bringing people in and talking to them about how their experience have been and what has happened and how their life has changed. I'm excited about that for sure.
Yeah, I want to end it with making sure you guys know, like, we don't have all the answers. I hope that this does not come across at all in a conceited or arrogant way. But man, we're a church in the dead end of a back end street in the middle of nowhere. And we've got to see God move in like insane ways. People's lives being changed who are now becoming baptizers, who are then becoming guides. And it's just been really, really fun. So we're excited to share some of the digital strategies and Phygital strategies with you guys. And we'll see you guys next time. I hope you enjoy it. Share it with your friends.